In today's video, we're going to talk about creating a timeline. This video is a part of a series on how to write your ideas from conception to first draft, and I'll link the previous lesson above me. Even if you're not following my step-by-step guide, timelines are something every screenwriter utilizes when figuring out how to move their idea from start to finish. So you might be asking yourself, so what is a timeline? A timeline is a very basic representation of structure. And I can't stress this enough. Structure is everything. Think of structure as the framework of a building. If the top part of the framework is too heavy, the building will fall to one side. If the bottom part of the structure is too light, the building will collapse. If the framework is an odd shaped, it will make the building not as effective as it could be. So for that last one, if you think of a school shaped as a loop, will it be able to function as good as a regular rectangle? Again, structure is everything in storytelling because it is the backbone of the story. Now here's something I found interesting that I learned in Fast Screenplay. If you want to find a link to that, again, I'm not affiliated with them. It's just a program I really like and it's been really useful for me. What I really enjoyed from Fast Screenplay, so that when we pull back on seeing structure and see it from a higher perspective, we see character is structure and structure is character. Now what do I mean by that? If we look at the character who our story is about, how we're looking at how they are pursuing some type of goal, right? Our story is how they get through the twists and turns to overcome their obstacle to reach their goal. Now, if that sounds familiar, it lines up with this lesson here that we talked about, where we talked about hero, goal, and obstacle. So let's take a look at our timeline. Now, traditionally, we look at the timeline as beginning, middle, and end. It's traditional 3-act structure, which, believe it or not, are 80% of the stories that are told in our world today. However, what does this timeline look like if we substitute in our character sense? What the beginning is about introducing our character. Our middle is the obstacles that we need to overcome, and the third act is how our hero achieves their goal. Now, Jeff from Fast Screenplay puts it like this: as your character responds to the events of your story, as they learn the lessons along the way, and as they grow, their decisions change. And it is the change in their decisions that define the structure of the story. Consider it this way. You probably imagine a specific character in your story right now. Now imagine the most dramatic moment you've currently got in mind for your movie and how your character would handle that situation. How does he or she handle the situation will change the direction of your story, right? Now imagine a completely different character facing the same situation. Imagine if it was Han Solo. Imagine if it was the Terminator. Imagine if it was Rocky. All three characters would handle the situation very differently from the way your character would, and each of their stories would go in a different direction from the way that yours goes. Now, before we jump down into our exercise today on timelines, there's one more thing to talk about, which is the difference between story structure and narrative structure. Now, story structure is the way that events unfold in linear time. Something happens at 1 o'clock and then happens at 2 o'clock and happens at 3 o'clock. Now, narrative structure is how the writer unfolds events to give the audience the best meaning. Now, many times the story and narrative structures are the same, but there are times that they are different. Now, some great examples if you want to see a difference in narrative structure versus story structure is to look at movies such as Pulp Fiction or Memento. Now, in today's exercise, I want us to figure out our timeline in terms of just story structure. We'll have another video later on that's going to tell us talking about looking at our story from a narrative structure. We just want the events to happen from A to Z. So I want you to take a sheet of paper, turn it sideways, and I want you to divide it into 3 sections. Now, on the first section, I want you to write 3 to 4 sentences about your hero, what they do in their ordinary life, what changes for them that sets them off into the story world. Now, in that second section, I want you to write 6 to 8 sentences. And you can divide those up into 3 or 4 quarters if you're going to sort of take that middle section, because a lot of times when we look at the 3-act structure, there's a midpoint in there and you have stuff before and after. So if you want, you can write 3 to 4 sentences in each of those sort of quarters. And what you're going to talk about is the obstacles your hero encounters in this middle section and how he or she overcomes them or doesn't. Now, in that final third of or that last act, in that part, I'm going to ask you to write 3 to 4 sentences about how the hero faces their greatest fear or worst enemy, achieves his or her goals or not, and what happens to him or her to wrap up the story. So that's what we're going to do today when we have our timeline. And that is our exercise for today. This will help you give us a timeline of sort of how things are going to happen from A to B. This is really going to help us flesh out our idea and give us more of a direction. So when we get to that first draft, we'll be able to write pretty quickly. Now, did you have any aha moments from this exercise? If so, put them down in the comment section below. Well, hi everybody. If we're meeting for the first time, my fellow screenwriting enthusiasts, my name is Paul from Small Town Movie Critic. If you're new to the channel, we're all about helping you write that kick-ass screenplay by giving you tips, tools, inspiration, and of course, product reviews. If you feel this is the type of content that will be good for helping with your screenwriting endeavors, please feel free to hit the subscribe button below. Now, as we do each and every week, I'd like to welcome to all our new subscribers. And this week, I'd like to welcome J. Wesley Smith. I wish you luck in your future writing and filmmaking endeavors. And thank you all for walking with me through all of our collective screenwriting journeys. A brief update on where I'm at with some of my projects. Dagon, my first audio drama, is almost done. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm having it being sound mixed at the time of this video. So all the parts have been recorded and we're just waiting for the final product. And as soon as it's done, I will get it released and you guys will be one of the first people who get to hear it. I think it's going to sound pretty awesome. As for my own screenwriting, it's taking a little longer than what I'd like because of my other writing assignment that I'm currently working on. So my screenplay is getting there, but as we all know, it never gets there as fast as we want it to, right? So I'll give you more information on that as we go. Now, my hope for you this week is that your writing goes well or your rewriting goes well. I hope you've been able to carve out time so you can work on that next kick-ass screenplay because only you can make that next blockbuster that will help other people fall in love with storytelling like we all do. Now, until the next video, keep writing and have a blessed day.